everyone? My name is Andrea. If you don't know me, you should subscribe because like why not? You should also hit the notification bell down below to be notified every time I upload a new video. But anyway, today I'm very excited because I will be doing my top 6 standalone reads that I would recommend if you are looking for a really good new or old standalone, because some of these are a bit older. I find that I am reading less and less standalones recently, so a lot of these are older, but they're still really good, and if you haven't read them, I highly recommend. So the first book I want to recommend is a fantasy, and it is The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. This one is a middle grade to young adult novel, and I thought it was very good, and it overall wraps up the story perfectly. So it's not one of those standalones that you're like, this should definitely have been a series. It's definitely not like that. This one is all about a pair of siblings named Hazel and Ben who discover in their town that there is this really well-known, like, preserved boy in a glass coffin, and he looks to be a fairy because he has pointy ears and horns, and they're like, what is this? So it's a big attraction in the town, and he has always been sleeping and nobody could wake up the boy in the coffin, and one day he does wake up, and Hazel and Ben are kind of dragged into this whole realm and story and adventure of this fairy prince, this fairy boy. So it's very interesting and exciting, and I thought it was just a great like adventure story, and it was fun and cute, and I really love Holly Black, so yeah, I would definitely recommend this one. Next, I've talked about this one a lot. I'll try to keep it short, but Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, of course. I do think that there is a sort of like another part to this, but I haven't read it, and I don't think it's necessarily something that you have to read, so I'm gonna count this as a standalone. I'm sorry. But this one is about a boy named Daniel who comes across a book that is very good, and he wants to find more works by this author, but he ultimately discovers that somebody is deliberately going around trying to destroy every single one of that author's works, and the whole question is why, and it really gets tangled, and he gets entrapped in this whole plot of another person's life. And it's a very cool book. Like, it definitely has some bookception where it's like a book in a book, and if you love books, I think you would enjoy this one because it just has a book lover's feel. I don't know how else to describe that, but this one is really good. It's one of my all-time favorite books ever, so please read it. Next is one that does have books after it, but again, I count it as a standalone because I don't think it really needed other books, okay? But Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, or if you've seen the movie, you probably recognize them. I love them. But yes, I have 2 copies of this because I wanted the movie cover. I love the movie and I love the book, so if you even watch it, I'd still be happy. But this one is so good. It's all about a guy who is paraplegic, which means he is disabled from the waist down, and he had this big adventurous life before, and then he was in an accident and he is now paralyzed, like I said. So he's really struggling with that. He literally does not want to live. He wants to go to this place that will allow him to basically have assisted suicide, and he will die. But then he meets this girl who comes in and is his caretaker, and her name is Lou, and she just kind of helps him. She kind of brings him more happiness. She makes him want to laugh and makes him want to live. So this is just a romance that I absolutely love, and it's such a good story, and I cry and sob. So if you haven't read Me Before You, this is your sign to read it. Next, of course, I have to talk about A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahereh Mafi. This book is so good. It is all about a young Muslim girl who is going to high school, dealing with life after 9/11 has just happened. The time after 9/11 for Muslim people was just not a good time, and it was terrible. So Tahereh Mafi really writes in this book and takes us through some of those things and explores how tough it really was to be a young Muslim girl after that. She's in high school and she finds herself, you know, dealing with all this shit, dealing with so much. Like, there's some heavy things that happen in this book. But she also finds an unlikely person who is trying to, you know, be there for her. And it's really about if she is willing to accept that help and also just deal with her own things on her own and get through it. And I really like this. I love the romance aspect, and I loved just learning about Shireen. That's the main girl. I loved just learning about her story. So if you haven't read it, please pick it up. I love A Very Large Expanse of Sea so much. Next, we have a fantasy standalone, which is not always the case. We don't get too many of those, but this one is by V.E. Schwab. It's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I tabbed this one. I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people have been talking about it like negatively, and I don't really understand why. I know V.E. Schwab kind of self-projects, and you can kind of see that, But she was confident in this book, and I think she wrote it very well, and I think she deserved that. She deserves the hype. Editing Andrew here. So, though I do think this book was written really beautifully, I do see a lot of flaws too that I didn't mention here. But the most evident one that I saw was a lack of POC in this book, and everybody's been like begging the Schwab to put some POC in her characters more than she does because it's really like she barely does. And I know there was one character in this book who was POC, but besides that one character, literally, I don't think there was any others, so that's not enough. And that was a big problem I saw, and just wanted to mention that in case, you thought this book was like flawless. It's definitely not. This one is about a girl named Addie LaRue, of course, who makes a deal with a devil-like entity, and she wants to live forever. She wants to live for more. She's tired of being in a small town. She thinks there is more to this life, and she wants to go and find it. So she makes this deal where she'll be able to live forever, but when you make a deal with the devil or anything like the devil, what happens? There's a catch. So the catch here is that she will live forever and ever until she decides to sell her soul back. But the only thing is, she will never be remembered by anyone. Nobody will remember her. Everyone she talks to will forget her like the next day or within a few hours. Whenever she leaves their sight, they don't know her. They're like, I don't know you, ma'am. So that was very interesting, and I found the story a little bit slow, but overall it was a very beautifully written book. Like the quotes and everything was so good, the way that things were described, and also just realizing and figuring out how lonely it is to be forgotten by everyone and how tough that is. Like, you want to live forever and you're having these fun adventures and everything and going to different places throughout the world, but you don't have anyone who truly knows you or truly cares about you. And how do you deal with that? How does Addie LaRue come to terms with her life? Is it worth it? So that's what I found from this book, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So if you haven't read it, I definitely suggest picking it up and trying it out for yourself and seeing what you think about it. I did have one more, and I don't have the book because my mom's reading it right now, but it's Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This one is about 2 girls who didn't know they were sisters. One lives in New York, one lives in the Dominican Republic, and they share the same father. And when their father gets in a plane crash and dies, they finally realize that they have a sister in New York or in the Dominican Republic. So it's very interesting to see them finding each other, and are they angry? Like, what is it? And their differences in walks of life is a really cool aspect of the book too. But that one is also written in prose, which I don't read a lot. I don't like to read a lot, and so I thought that was really cool. And my mom is actually enjoying it too, which is funny because she doesn't read a lot. She did read like the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Like, she'll read some bigger books that I like, but she didn't ever read anything in prose, and then she picked it up, and I'm surprised. I'm proud of her. But anyway, we both don't really read that, and we both enjoying it, or she's enjoying it, I enjoyed it, so I think that's really cool, and that's another good one. But that's all I have to say. Let me know if there's any other standalones that you love that I didn't mention. I really do like to read standalones sometimes to just finish them within a day, so let me know if you know of any good ones. Go ahead and comment down below a yellow heart if you stayed till the end. I love to see who stays till the end of all my videos. But that's all I have to say, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!
I saw you out in Hollywood, so we drove to Laurel Canyon. I gave you all of my spare time, and you just couldn't stand it. You say she's a work of art.